Have you ever looked around your office and thought, we could be a little greener? If that idea just seems huge, maybe a little overwhelming, believe me, you are not alone. But what if I told you that building a more sustainable workplace is way more doable than you might think? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to prove. So what does it really take to pull this off? That's the big question, right? And honestly, like any great building, whether it's a huge corporate campus or a tiny startup, it all starts with a really clear blueprint. And that's exactly what we're going to start sketching out together right now. Every solid blueprint has to start with a strong foundation. I mean, before we can build anything, we have to know what we're building. So our very first step is to get that groundwork laid by figuring out what green business actually means. Okay, now what's so important about this definition is just how broad it is. We're talking about so much more than just putting a recycling bin in the kitchen. A truly green business is a company that's ready to rethink how it operates to have a genuinely positive impact. The key here is that shift in priorities. It's moving away from only thinking about profit to a much more balanced approach that really values people and the planet. And listen, this isn't just some feel-good thing. Research shows over and over that companies with strong environmental policies get this huge boost in employee morale and can even end up outperforming their competitors. So let's break that down a bit. A truly green business is really standing on three essential pillars. First, you've got the most obvious one, environmental impact. This is all about the basics, using fewer resources, creating less waste, shrinking that carbon footprint. Second, you've got social responsibility. This is about taking care of your team, making sure their work environment is healthy and actually being a positive force in your local community. And third, and this is so critical, is economic viability. All of this has to make business sense. Your green practices have to support the company's long-term financial health. When you get all three of these working together, well, that's when you've built a foundation that's not just green, it's incredibly strong. All right, so with our foundation set, it's time to zoom out. To really get why this blueprint matters so much, we need to look at the big picture and understand why making this shift away from the traditional way of doing things is so incredibly important. And this right here just shows the difference so perfectly. On the left, that's the old model. Lots of consumption, lots of waste. Employee health is kind of just a box you have to check, and the impact on the community, often it's a total afterthought. But now look at the right. A green workplace completely transforms every single one of these areas. Using resources is now about being smart and efficient. The workplace itself is actually designed to help people feel good and thrive, and that pays off big time. Workplaces that do this see way less employee turnover and higher productivity. The business doesn't just sit in a community anymore, it becomes a positive part of it. I mean, the contrast is pretty night and day, isn't it? So we've defined what we're talking about, we've seen the bigger picture. Now let's bring it all the way back to you. It's time to metaphorically pick up that pencil and start sketching out the very first draft of your workplace blueprint. This is where all that theory turns into action. So where on earth do you even begin? It's way simpler than you think. First, just assess. Be a detective for a day. Walk around. Where are the lights always left on? How much paper is really getting printed? Second, set 1 or 2 simple, totally achievable goals. Don't try to fix everything at once. Maybe it's a no print rule for meetings. Or hey, what about switching the office coffee to a local sustainable brand? Or even setting up a fun commute green challenge. And third, and this part is absolutely vital, get your team involved. This can't be some top-down order. It has to be a team mission. Honestly, the best ideas are going to come from the people right there on the ground. And that brings us to the end of our blueprint. We've laid the foundation, we've seen the big vision, and we've even drafted the first few plans. The only thing left to do now is to lay that first brick. So, as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Looking at your own workplace, what's the very first simple brick you can lay tomorrow?